If there's a movie you're looking for that speaks to their overcoming fear, deciding what you really believe in and what you value, or if you're older and you're trying to find that drive that you used to have maybe when you were younger, I highly recommend watching the Batman trilogy directed by Chris Nolan and featuring Christian Bale. And the reason why is that whole trilogy, first of all, the dialogue is, there's so much depth to their dialogue. But as I watched the trilogy, I rewatched it just past weekend, and there was so much in there. And each movie has a very distinct message that each of us have to go through. That Batman Begins is really more about going through your fears. There's a reason why the villain of that movie is the Scarecrow, and there's a reason why it goes through Bruce Wayne's history and his fear of bats and kind of the trauma he essentially had to endure with his parents being killed. And so really that whole movie is there's two things I pull from that. Number one, you have to face your fears. And the second one is you have to find a teacher. I tell my students all the time, you always need a teacher. Doesn't always have to be a formal teacher. It could be an author, could be books, could be a director, it could be a public figure. It doesn't have to be directly from them either. I tell my students, especially going into the mental health field, your best bet in school is you're going to learn what you need to know to start out. But where you really start to find your footing is in the books you read and really your own personal study of the various topics. I mean, there's so much out there. And so that Batman Begins, if you're ever at a place where you're like, man, do I really step out? I'm growing up, I'm becoming an adult, I'm having to deal with a lot with a new change in my life. Batman Begins is a really good movie to kind of give you a pattern on what it means to overcome your fear in a very cool way as well. Everything in that movie is very symbolic, from the toxin to the villain itself being the Scarecrow. It's about overcoming the fears. The second movie, The Dark Knight, I think it's for anybody usually between the ages of 18 and 30. Or if you're at a place where you're trying to figure out if what you believe and what you value is really what you believe and value. Because what happens in the story, Batman has brought so much order to Gotham City. And of course, with a very unreal amount of order that has come to the city with criminals, there becomes a very unreal amount of chaos that comes in the Joker. And the whole time, Batman and Joker are really two sides. One is of order, one is of chaos. And they're both having to collide with each other. And really, the whole movie is about not so much killing the Joker. It's actually more about what is Batman or Bruce willing to do in order to maintain what he stands for. And I think when you're between the ages of 18 and 30, you're at a lot of crossroads where you might not be with your parents anymore. You might be living out on your own. You're kind of really individuating yourself at a very high level, because now you're of legal age and you do make a lot of choices that are your own. And you have to start asking yourself, what do I believe and why do I believe it? And how do I go about living those beliefs in the world? And I think Batman, the Dark Knight movie is a perfect example of what it means, what you're going to have to do for that time until you really settle into what you're adults. Now, 30 is not the objective number, but you tend to find if you work on this, by the time you're in your late 20s, you kind of have figured out what you do believe, what you don't believe, what you accept, what you won't accept. And so the Dark Knight movie is really that cross section of what you believe versus what you don't believe. What happens when you run into something that's complete opposite of what you believe? Not just the absence of your belief, but something that lives for a completely different reason and exists in your life. Because that's what you do. You encounter so many different personalities. And so the Dark Knight movie, the second one in the trilogy, is really more about what do you value? What do you believe in? And the third one, The Dark Knight Rises, I love that one because this one speaks to a lot of people who maybe they felt like in the past they were somebody. Maybe they felt like before it was so much easier to get up and do something. And whether you're an athlete and you want to train, or maybe you're a parent with adult children, now you're not as keen to taking care of yourself maybe the way you did when you were having kids, because you had to take care of kids and you had to be there for them. It's this kind of transition life for people who are, the reasons why they got up to do what they did is no longer present. So do you still do what you do in the absence of that purpose, or do you find new purpose to do what you need to do, or do you move on? And I think that movie is, especially for those like high school athletes who maybe didn't go to college, or even did go to, or the college athletes that did compete at college who maybe didn't go on to be a competitive athlete. You look back at who you used to be as far as athleticism and the various things you used to do. And that movie with Bane as the villain, he kind of represents everything that Batman was in terms of strength, in terms of will, in terms of power, but the reasoning behind it. In fact, Bane's only real reason why he's is that way is he has somebody telling him. There's that twist at the end of, and I can't remember her name, but it's that woman who basically is the brains of the operation. So Bane, although he has everything Batman used to have, he doesn't have that will to do it on his own. He's following somebody the whole time. And Batman, where he differs in that, is there is nobody telling him. It's his own moral code that's pulling at him. So it's really about finding peace with your life. And of course, Alfred the butler's, that voice of reason in the movie, in all three movies. But if you're looking for something to overcome fear, how to deal with the collision of your values with something opposite of you, and then how you pick yourself up after before you had a reason to get up and go, and now you don't have that reason, so you're struggling to get up and go. That trilogy, and I'll go more into detail in other videos, but that trilogy is huge. Highly recommend it. The dialogue is amazing. It's really speaking to the depths of character, and I'll go more into each movie individually, but just my little tip.